You're not aware of any employee taking something that one would consider a vacation time and bringing their computer and maybe logging in just a portion of that time, or not at all? We have more than 25% of federal employees not logging into work, and they're teleworking.
Congresswoman, I do take issue with the characterization that 25% of individuals are not logging in.
It's in this leaked document right here that we just submitted into the record.
You're basing that from 2020, which was in the last administration, and I can't speak to that.
This is Lauren Boebert trying to blame Joe Biden for data in a leaked document that actually happened under Donald Trump, and then getting called out for it by a Biden appointee at a hearing. Because for some reason, Republicans refused to acknowledge the fact that Donald Trump was president for the entire year of 2020, which includes the botched response to the pandemic, the stock market crash, the recession, the tear gassing of peaceful protesters, the PPP loan fraud, and of course, the federal policies that led to the issues that Lauren Boebert is complaining about in the exact clip right here. But hey, why let facts get in the way of your talking points? And let's just appreciate for a second the irony that the same person who's complaining about federal workers not working enough spends just about every hour on the clock either pulling stupid stunts for attention, grifting campaign dollars, or voting against common sense bills. For example, the Federal Election Commission launched an investigation into her using campaign funds to pay for personal rent and utilities, which is illegal. She also paid herself more than $22,000 in gas costs with her campaign money. That's enough gas to drive around the circumference of the Earth 1.5 times. And last time I checked, Colorado's 3rd congressional district isn't quite that big. In fact, according to the congressional record, Lauren Boebert has failed to sponsor a single successful piece of legislation during her entire time in Congress. She hasn't introduced a single bill with bipartisan support. She hasn't secured funding for local projects in her district. And here she is claiming credit for investments that she voted against. She tweeted, "It was great meeting with the Mountain Family Health Center's Community Health Center in Rifle. I've secured over $1.74 billion for community health centers, and I will keep working to make rural healthcare affordable across Colorado." But she voted against it. So when you hear the expression, "vote no, take the dough," now you know why it's needed. And while we're on the topic of people failing to do their jobs, here's Lauren Boebert conflating climate change with, seasons.
You want to say, I agree with the gentleman who said we need to stop saying climate change isn't real. Climate change is absolutely real. It happens 4 times every year. And we're not surprised by it. In Colorado, sometimes it happens 4 times in a day.
But not only is she dumb, and she is dumb, she's also horrible for her own district, opting constantly to vote against the most common sense, bipartisan pieces of legislation. She was one of 9 Republicans who voted against the Protecting Moms Who Served Act. She was one of 10 Republicans who voted against the Carbon Monoxide Poisoning Prevention Act. She was one of 16 Republicans who voted against protecting those who helped save the lives of American soldiers in Afghanistan, like translators. She was one of 11 Republicans who voted against improving federal disaster response. She was one of 8 Republicans who voted against protecting seniors from emergency scams. She voted against awarding police who defended the Capitol on January 6th with gold medals. I mentioned that she voted against preventing carbon monoxide poisoning, right? And in case you think that I'm finished, here's even more about her voting record from her Democratic opponent, Adam Frisch, at their most recent debate last year.
July 1st, 2021, we voted against more than $4 billion for Colorado's highways, bridges, rails, and broadband, and $8 billion to improve the water storage across the entire western part of the United States. On March 3rd, you voted against the Honoring Our Pact Act, which expanded VA healthcare benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits. On April 15th of 2021, you and your mentor, Marjorie Taylor Greene, were the only two out of 435 members of the House to vote against funding for leukemia research. And even as you vote against these laws that help our district, you are 0 for 39 in getting your own bills out of committee, let alone any signed into laws. I'm curious, Congresswoman, are you failing because you don't care, because you can't do the job, or because you can't tell the difference between right or wrong? Is your argument for re-election that you will spend the next term the same as your first, thus batting 0 for 78 when it comes to passing laws? Or will you remain focused on your Twitter account and how many cable news interviews you can do from Florida or Texas? You're not showing up, you're shooting blanks when it comes to protecting the citizens and the communities of our district. At the end of the day, this race boils down to one thing: competency. Who do you want representing your family, your business, and your community in the halls of Congress?
Hell, she even voted against baby formula access for mothers in need through the WIC program, which is especially ironic considering she just made this public announcement about her 17-year-old son.
But I leaned over and I asked my husband if it was appropriate to announce this here today. So I'm going to tell you all for the first time in a public setting that not only am I a mom of 4 boys, but come April, I will be a Gigi to a brand new grandson. And Jason and I are so excited to welcome this new life into our family.
And look, if you're going to vote against helping mothers in need, but then turn around and talk about your son welcoming a baby into the world and brag about how pro-life you are, you might just have the amount of abject hypocrisy needed to be a Republican in Congress. But the good news is that the voters in Colorado's 3rd Congressional District have an actual alternative in the next election. Adam Frisch came within just 0.2% of beating Boebert in 2022, and she underperformed more than any other Republican last November. She is very, very beatable, and luckily for all of us, Adam Frisch just announced that he's running again in 2024 to do just that. I asked him how he plans to win this time and how we can help him here.
There's a lot of hard things about running for federal office, especially in a district that is half the state of Colorado, especially against running against such an extremist like Representative Boebert. The easy thing for me, by far and away, is what I believe as a dad and a husband and a small business owner, way before I thought about getting into national politics, is exactly what I shared with the Democratic primary voters, which are pretty darn liberal, a lot more liberal than I am, and is exactly the same story and issues and focuses I told to a general voter base that had 25% D and 31% R and 43% unaffiliated. And I think people saw, even though they might not agree with every issue I talked about, there was this conversation about authenticity and sincerity. And I think a lot of voters up in Alaska, whether they're D's or R's, saw Mary Patola as a sincere and authentic person. And I think with humility, a lot of people that normally don't vote for a Democrat saw me as authentic and sincere. And when they see what the alternative is, those are not the 2 words that come to mind.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly put. Adam, how can we help your campaign?
Well, thanks, Brian. I mean, my website's right down there, adamforcolorado.com. We obviously always need support. I don't say this with pride, but it's going to be an expensive race. $5, $10, $3,300. It's literally all great. Adam for Colorado is on Twitter. Please follow us, send in money, and then just let people know if you have friends and neighbors that live in Western and Southern Colorado to reach out. We try to get back to everybody. info@adamforcolorado.com or even Adam at adamforcolorado.com. And we just want to connect with people. But the moral support is great. I wish there were more opportunities to see some of these Marjorie Taylor Greenes and Jim Jordans defeated. But at the end of the day, Brian, we are, and I don't, we are the only candidate running against the only extremist that has a chance of losing. So for those that live in district, by all means, support your local congressperson, even if it's an uphill battle. But to those people that are kind of spreading their support and interest nationally, please look into us and you'll see that we actually have a really good track record of being able to deliver with those monies that come in. And we thank everyone for your time and interest, and just supporting us and following us is a big help as well.
Contrast that common sense from Adam Frisch with Lauren Boebert, who is literally constantly bragging about how extreme she is.
We are addressed as MAGA extremists, extreme MAGA Republicans, and I would like to make just a clarification point. It's ultra MAGA. That's what we prefer. Yes.
And that kind of sentiment by Lauren Boebert is exactly why Republicans did not have the red wave that they expected last November. And if people like Adam Frisch and all of us continue to step up, call this out, and vote, we could soon have hope of getting the Boeberts of Congress out of office for good. Before you go, a quick announcement. I've started a Spanish YouTube channel. Democrats desperately need to be able to appeal to Spanish-speaking audiences, so this is me doing my part. To help that channel get going in the algorithm so that we can finally start spreading our progressive message and breaking the conservative stranglehold on Spanish-speaking media, please subscribe and watch a few videos. The link to that channel, called Brian Teller Cohen Espanol, is right here on this screen. And of course, to see more of my content in English, make sure to subscribe to this channel as well. The link is also right here on this screen. Thanks so much for watching.